Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone, maybe a minute or so. There's just a few of you in right now. Again, thank you for joining myself this afternoon. And the topic that I'd like to sort of talk about this afternoon is modernizing your chart of accounts. So I'd like to get going with a couple of poll questions, given that there's a brief technical challenge, right? Oh, well, let's go through the agenda first. I'm going to walk through what a typical chart account look like, right, in most ERP solutions. And then I'll take a look at the modern architecture of Sage Intact GL. Explain a little bit about dimensions and talk about the statistical accounts capability and sort of wrap it up with everything put together as far as what does it all mean, right, with regards to a modernized chart of account structure, with regards to financial reporting, and then we'll end off with your questions and answers. What is our traditional chart of accounts, or what is chart of account within Sage 300 look like? Okay, so historical chart of accounts overview, right? This should be very familiar to all of us, right? Our natural chart of accounts, whether it's 4 digits, 5 digits, or 6 digits, right? Your bank, receivables, revenue, expenses, so on and so forth. That's what we call our natural accounts. And then we sort of building our GL structure. And within the SACE 300 world, right, you should be very familiar of what we call segmented accounting or segmented structure. Looking at if you do have locations, if you do have departments, or even if you want to track projects, we could absolutely create segments within Sage 300, but more importantly, within other ERP solutions, right? Very similar to what is structured here. So assuming that we have 3 locations, 5 departments, and 5 projects, right? I think those are probably on the low side. Okay, some of you may have more or less segments, but let's just use this as an example. So with the structure that we currently constructed, essentially there's 75 possible combinations, right? The various combinations that fits within the account 1500 equipment. Okay, so I talked a little bit about it, right? Historical chart of accounts says 300 predominantly would be a segmented structure, right? And if you look at this, right, this is accounts, location, departments, and projects. Now, luckily in SACE 300, we have the ability to create account structures, right? Now, there are solutions out there that only provides a single structure. So what that means is you have if you don't have projects, or if you don't have departments, you still need to populate it with a value, which most people will sort of default to 0, right? Not a very good way, not a very good design, but nonetheless, though some ERP solutions still require you to populate the default segment values. And we know that in order to use an account within Sage 300, right, we have to predefine it or make it available in Sage 300. Okay, so if we have 75 accounts, let's say tomorrow we create a new account for an expense. In order to use it, right, you don't need to add all 75, right? That's a given. Yeah, you could add as you go, but then it sort of requires additional maintenance as we go. Okay, so a lot of clients essentially says, hey, every time I create a new account, you know what? For the sake of ease of use, I'm just gonna import all of the accounts. And really what that leads to is a larger chart of accounts. Okay, so in a historical or in a SAGE 300 world, right, we live in a segmented GL structure that needs to be predefined or exist before we could use, which leads to a little bit higher maintenance and obviously a larger number of accounts. Okay, so let's, just sort of for fun, right? We talked about your single accounts, and that's this example that I sort of provided earlier, right? Resulting in 75 accounts. So imagine now we have 2 entities, and let's just, for the sake of this example, we put 2 entities within the same database. So that one account now leads to 150 different combinations. So if we increase the location from 3 to 5, departments, right, which is not totally outrageous, from 5 to 10, and projects from 5 to 15, you're looking at a 1,500 account combination. Remember, this is for one single account. It's very conservative to say that our chart of accounts only have 50 accounts, and with that combination, you are looking at 75,000 different accounts. Now, maybe one of the poll question I should have asked is, what is your chart of accounts, right? How many account number? The largest client, or the client with the largest number of accounts that I've worked with in Sage 300 is in excess of 520,000 GL accounts. So let's take a look at a modern GL architecture, more so the GL Sage Intacct architecture, right? If you really think about it, right, the elements that I just described in a segmented geo account structure is not going to go away, right? We still have natural accounts. We still want to track location. We still want to track departments, projects, so on and so forth. So essentially, we want to keep the same information as we did in a historical chart of account structure. However, right, what it is different with Sage Intacct is that Sage Intacct only has a natural GL account, which, so again, if you go back and take a look at your chart of accounts, you could probably sort of narrow it down to about 100 and 150 GL accounts, unique GL accounts. Okay, so then how is Intacct going to be able to accommodate or allow you to track location, department, and projects, so on and so forth? Well, it's by leveraging the dimension technology. Okay, so Sage Intacct is sort of pre-configured, right, with 8 dimensions. Okay, and it basically goes on the premise of, hey, you know what, who, where, what. Okay, now the who's are the customer dimension, vendor dimension, and employees dimension, right? I'm pretty sure that for a lot of you to say, hey, it would be really nice if we could do a quick GL transaction listing by customer or by vendor, right? Are we able to do that today? Not very efficient in Sage 300, but with the dimensions, right, that is out of the box sort of setting that allow us to track that. And we're able to attach employee as well. And where, I think this is important, right? We have 3 dimensions called location, department, and classes. Sage Intacct is multi-entity capable, right? So locations will essentially be your physical location or your entity, right? And also departments, finance, accounting, marketing, sales, so on and so forth. And then classes, right? For our not-for-profits, you probably want to keep track of funds, as an example. You may want to keep track of projects or activities. Okay, and then we sort of go on depending on what modules you have, items, warehouse, project, task, contracts, so on and so forth. But think about this, right? Now, the segments that you used to know, right, sort of transform into what we call dimensions today. And these are the one that's out of the box. And knowing that every organization might have different reporting requirements, there are user definable dimensions. Okay, so in addition to these ones, right, I think the most popular will be location, departments, and repurposing classes, and then your customers and vendors and projects. These are the most popular dimensions. Okay. So moving on, right? In addition to your financial accounts, think about the need, right, for statistical accounts. So with Sage Intacct, essentially, we're able to provide you with ability to create statistical accounts, head counts, day visits, hospital visits, right? And allow you to create journal entries for statistical accounts as well as financial accounts. Okay. Again, going back to our not-for-profit example, right? If you have reporting requirements, right, that sort of need to combine financial results with statistical results. Some clients are keeping the information in two separate databases. Some clients are keeping that information into one chart of accounts and allocate a section for statistical accounts and still using the financial account capability, which means that you have to sort of balance it out. And while others may sort of take advantage of the quantity feature within the Sage 300 GL. But nonetheless, within Sage Intacct, we clearly could define financial GL accounts and statistical GL accounts, and you could transact as such, and you're able to allocate dimensions to both financial and statistical accounts. Okay, and this is a sort of data entry, right? Whether it's for financial or statistical, you identify the statistical account, you see the department location, right? And whereby those are our dimensions, okay? And then, so it's now not debit or credit anymore, it's increase or decrease. And of course, it doesn't need to balance because it's not a financial transaction. So to summarize, right, modern GL architecture of Sage Intacct leverages the dimension capability, okay? It is much more flexible and it's much lower maintenance. Why? Because one, you have to set up the dimension once. Once you set up the dimension, the combination, right, can be used in any GL entry. You do not need to predefine it. So therefore, instead of 75,000 GL accounts, I will still only have 50 GL accounts, but I could use department 1, right, project 3, and location 2 in that combination without further having to sort of reconstruct that structure before anyone could use it. And much smaller chart of accounts, okay? And the ability to use financial and statistical accounts, okay? Now, needless to say, all of this is great, but I think one of the struggle was really, well, hey, it doesn't support my financial reporting, okay? So we're gonna go through certain examples, right? Our regular financial reporting, our budget versus actual, okay? We'll take a look at an example of dimensional reporting, right? Dimensional reports. And we'll take a look at a combination of financial and statistical reports, and also consolidation, right? For those of you with multiple entities, whether you put it within one Sage 300 database, like some clients do, or you do have multiple Sage 300 databases, right? Financial reporting seems to be a challenge a lot of times, okay? So actual versus budget. This is an example of a financial statements created using Sage Intacct Financial Report Writer. It is structured, okay? I mean, supporting the modernized GL account, which really is the dimensions, is the fact that you're able to define account groups. For those of you using Sage 300, you could say, yeah, I have account groups. Absolutely. In Sage 300, your account group is 1-to-1 ratio. In Sage Intacct, you're able to define multiple account groups and assign the accounts to it. Okay, fundamental difference. Sage 300 is you assign the group into the account, whereas Sage Intacct, you assign account into the groups. You say, well, what is the difference? Well, the biggest difference is that now, for those of you that may have compliance reporting or regulatory reporting requirements that need to group differently, right? A single account may need to be grouped differently depending on the type of reports. Now you could do it because I could create multiple account groups, and some clients have gone to extreme that they create a different set of account groups for each report. Okay, so we have clients using OHRS reporting. We have clients using reporting for Ontario Liquor Board, right? those now we're able to expand into multiple account groups. And the beauty of Sage Intacct is that once I create the groups, assign the accounts, I could actually have groups within the groups. So you need to see it to appreciate the account group capability within Sage Intacct. It's much more dynamic than what we have in Sage 300. And from a financial reporting perspective, we're able to drill down, right within the reporting tool. And this is an example of um, month ending, right? 3 months ending side by side with a highlighting capability and with the drill down capability. And this is, you say, well, hey, why are you showing me this again? It's very similar. Absolutely. However, if you look on the left-hand side, right, we're not looking at administrative expenses. We're not looking at wages. We're looking at dimensions. Okay, we're now looking, dimension is captured through transactions, and now I could report by customer type on the left-hand side. So that is fundamentally quite different than Sage 300. And then obviously we're having the highlighting capability and the graphing capability towards the very right. Okay, so each of these column is sort of definable with the report writer, and this is by location. Okay, so, oh, sorry, I think I want to go, no, actually, that's fine. This is by location. So what this really is now, my dimension is an element at the top. It pivots at the top. North side, south side, and patient care are my location. And at the same time, I still have, right, revenue by customer, right? Imagine this is your financial statement. This is not an accounts receivable report. This is a financial statement with customers as a revenue source and then location as my columns. And this is an example where month over month, I think all of us probably would love to be able to create a financial with months over months, right? But in this particular case, I want to share with you really is at the bottom where I have now statistical information. It's a little bit difficult to see, I apologize, but if you look towards the bottom, right, there under net income, there's number of occupied units, there's number of available units, and there's number of units occupied rate, and right, revenue PAR per unit. Okay, so this demonstrates the ability to combine financial information, your regular P&L, with statistical information, right, in one report, and then combine them both and create formulas, right, to give us some statistical information. And lastly, right, consolidated balance sheet. So consolidation is a totally different story, but if you look at this particular case, right, I now have all of my entities at the top. There's nothing extra that you need to do. This is all native within Sage Intacct. And one common theme through all of these examples is dimensions. Okay, whether it's entity dimension, whether it's location dimension, right? Whether it is department dimension or customer dimension, it gives you the flexibility to report, whereas it would be challenging, right, within your existing ERP solution. Okay, half an hour doesn't really do justice, right? But hopefully our short time together, just going through sort of the key points of historical versus what Sage Intacct GL is capable of delivering and examples of financial statements, right, would sort of say, you know what, didn't think these were possible, right? And just one quick point about consolidation. It is a true consolidation solution whereby it provides you with the capability to identify eliminating accounts. Okay, it automatically includes the intercompany accounts as well as give you the option to specify which accounts to eliminate as well during the consolidation process. With that, I thank you very much for your time, and I would love to entertain some questions if there are any.
So we don't have much time left, but we do have one question here. Can Intac GL accommodate multiple report grouping requirements?
Absolutely. So, like I talked about earlier, right? We have the Sage Intact account groups, and that will allow you to create multiple groups and then assign the accounts into the group. Okay, so that again is fundamentally different than Sage 300. And like I talked about earlier, if you say, hey, there's too much work, I simply just want to take a look at the information in a slightly different view, right? For clients, that's regulatory requirements, OHRS reporting. You have your unique chart of accounts for OHRS reporting. Well, guess what? You could create OHRS reporting accounts and then assign it to or assign your accounts into that. And then when you print a GL trial balance, and you could say print the OHRS version instead of your regular trial balance. Okay, so absolutely, you actually have multiple ways of reporting different groups.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for that, James. We are going to close out here. I don't know if you had any final words to say.
Again, thank you everyone. I know it's not easy to take time off, but thanks again. And if there's any questions with regards to Sage Intact or the chart of accounts, do not hesitate to reach out.